welcome back. This is Nerd Dad on episode 10 of our Factorio playthrough. And last time we left off, we were going to set up a bit of a base and down with this copper and stone. We've done that. We managed to get enough stone off of the stone mine. That sounds so weird, stone mine. I don't know why. Anyways, we've got a perimeter set up, and we do have a little bit of ammo going around it. It's not quite enough yet. It looks like we're duping up on the weird. So I got to get that sorted out. It's a little too thick, so we'll get that straightened out. Sorry, a little shiny object. But it's pretty good shape right now. We got some weapons all the way around. We got walls all the way around it, and it's kind of just sitting there. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to start thinking a little bit about long term here and how we want to do things. So what I've done is I've made some blueprints. I've got them sitting in my backpack here. All sorts of rail, and I want us to start thinking a little bit about what it's going to look like when we get into here. How are we going to offload trains? What are our trains going to look like? And start trying to think a little bit about, long term, how's everything going to work? So what we've got is we've got our base, and eventually we're going to have more copper processing. We know that we're going to push that along, and it'll probably be 100. It might even go further. So we're going to want a train to come in along here. Now at some point this is going to be gone, so we could in theory run a line right along under the underside of this. So what I'm thinking we'll do is we'll build our station right here, just leave that extra space for processing, and give ourselves enough of a loop. I think we've got enough space to get a loop inside the present walls, so we don't have to worry about that. And then I think what we'll do is, because we've got kind of our roadway here and we're a little bit crimped, I think what we'll do is we'll put a waiting area over here. So this would be our wait, this will be our drop off. I'd like to be able to squeeze in both a sort of a singular and a secondary drop off. So what happens, the train comes in, it partially unloads, and then it finishes unloading, and that way you get sort of continuous unloading. So I want to see if we can work on that, and we're going to come down here. And so the key for us is going to be the loop. So I just got to figure out which tracks are which. There's our big loop, so we can just come back here and we can say, okay, we want this to be, that's as far as it can go, right about there. And I don't want to get it too tight to the bottom because we're going to have to curve like this down, further down. So we're going to need a bit of space. We don't want it to be too curvy. And then what we're going to want to do is be able to get a bit of a straight line from over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here really quickly and figure out where this would live. It's going to probably, I think for right now, we're going to have it sort of come through here and zaggy, kind of do a little bit of a zig up and then come across, because I don't think we can get a turn to fit to the underside of there. We'll see. It might. I'll take a little bit of a look here. There's our full. I'd like to have a little bit of space in there, kind of like that. So what does that look like for us? It's going to be close. If we bring it a little bit tighter, maybe just like that. And maybe a little one like that. That one's not quite there. Problem with these is sometimes you get them a little wrong. So we're going to have a little bit of an extra track in there. We can take that out later. Okay, so let's get our straight line. Do something like this, and hopefully this will fit. And you just run this along here like this. And we can do this on the map mode too. We can just kind of come in here and map it over. Okay, but you see we're going to hit this right now, so we're going to need to make sort of a, like I said, a little bit of a zigzag. But what we want to know is eventually the perfect line will be like that. That'll be the main line we're going to want. Okay, so now that we've identified that line, let's go and get this bottom one sorted out. And we may as well start knocking some of this out, because we are going to want some of this in place. Now, the one thing I haven't figured out in this great grand plan is where are we going to put the concrete? Where's it going to come in? Because it needs to have sort of the same turn. And we don't want it unloading in the same place. Or do we? And that becomes a bit of a question. Do we just unload everything at one spot and then have stone kind of just pulled off a different route? And that's quite possible. The problem is if we backlog our copper, which I'm hoping to do, then our stone won't get through, and vice versa. So it gets into a sounds like a good idea until you get it backlogged, and then everything goes sideways a little bit. So let's just get this guy going, get this through here, and this one right here. And we're going to have to do a little bit of red outs on these walls. The other thing we'll have to do is we'll have to put some signals on these for our car when we're wheeling down there. We don't want to be slamming into some trains, but we'll get that figured out. Okay, so now because we've got that kind of figured out, what we got to do is figure out what is the first earliest route we can have. So what we're going to use, we're going to use this little half curve here, and we're going to do something like this, and that there is as good as it's going to get. I think we can actually bring it over just a little bit closer. In fact, why don't we, that's the full, that's the half. I think we can get away with that. Okay, so that's a little bit closer for us. Okay, we're going to need to wipe this out, and we'll just drop that right through there. So this likely right here will be our first track that we use to sort of store trains on. Now, this is all good so far. What I don't want to do is come straight up here. What I think we're going to do is we're going to actually come up over here with the train. We're going to kind of bring them over and give ourselves as much backlog space as we can here. In fact, in theory, we could have a bunch of trains backlogging all through here if we wanted to, and I'm still not sure whether that isn't where we maybe we send our stone train up into here, have a quick little unload here, and then send it back out right away. So I'm still thinking about that as an option as well. So we want to just kind of keep our mind a little bit open, start thinking about how this is all going to look. Let's get our curve and just do a little bit of, that's maybe a little too tight. So we're going to come maybe right up, straight up here like this. That might be a little too tight with that cliff. I'm just wondering if maybe we can, if we could fit it right there. So we're going to come straight up like this. There we go. And that'll be our first. Yeah, we're just going to have to pull that out. And we'll just, whoops. Oh, that didn't work out very well at all. Just grab that again. There we go. Okay, so we've got this eyeballed in. We're going to be able to come down here now and just grab our straight track. Just drop it right in there. And this allows us to do things like this, where we can just go, okay, well, we already know where this is going to go. And just start putting things in place. We're going to need a little, we got a couple of gates here. No, we don't have any materials on this at all, so we're going to be a little bit out of whack here. I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of bump it against the wall and just leave it there for right now, because I want to get the rest of this kind of laid in here. I'd like to have 3 or 4 sidings for trains so that we're not having to do that later. Once we kind of open up that big copper depot, I'd like to have these trains just kind of wailing in here, and I'm not too worried about us doing that because we're getting enough stone down there where we can ship it down, you know, put it in our car, whale down, and I think we will be able to make as much sort of railway as we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this on this side of this thing here, right here. We're going to want to be able to put a signal right there. And so that becomes our first little siding for this one. And what we can do with this is we grab this little tiny one I've got right here, a little bit of a sideways. We can actually kind of just bring it down like this. And that allows us to get a really good feel for what's going on as we bring this in. Let's finish this one off as well. Let's get this, this is our outline. So he's going to come along and he's going to be our out. And I think we'll bring him down right about here somewhere. And let's figure out where he'll fit. And we'll just look at him and say he's going to come in straight down here. And we're going to need something like that, I think, is about where that fits in. And we can just go like that. Oh, just got to get rid of this tree here. And there we go. Nice straight line. Okay, so there's our out. And what's going to happen is when we bring this line here and knock this wall out, chances of them getting over here, I'm not too worried about the bugs. We could do a nice big wiggle like that, but I think we'll do a little half spin. Just a lot of these little turns like this. Just get that in alignment. We've got our little angle line here. And we just kind of keep overlapping the other one. And then we'll bring this one, great big one. And let's bring it straight down. We want to get these. So what we want for our standard lines is we like to get those big power poles, these big guys. We like to have them right in between. So we want to have sort of a, kind of like something like this. This is our typical, how we want to run a north-south line. Put a power in the middle, gives us a little bit of space to sort of swing. You don't have to swing the line so far if you need to kind of join these together somehow. If that ever happens to you, it gives you a little bit more maneuverability. And we can just go like that. And we'll just get it in there properly. Like I said, it's just kind of like drawing right now. We're just kind of figuring where everything's going to fit. And there we go. Okay, so we've got our inline. It's going to come like this. And then what we can do with this in is we can grab these curves. And we can say, okay, now we don't want to have them right like this because then we don't have space for signals. So always give yourself an extra gap. And there we go. And as many as we can fit is what we can get. So I think we can fit 4 there. And that is going to give us 5 total weight lines. So that is fantastic. In fact, we've got our regular one, which is way up there. We may not even need that one. We may just end up sticking with these. And I think I goofed up because I can't pull this one that fast maybe. So maybe we can't do this one. I thought we were going to be able to squeeze it in there, but no, I goofed up. I was supposed to come from this end. Well, the nice thing is, we've got this big eraser right here, so we can just kind of go like this and just wipe all that out. And we'll come from this end instead. I'd forgotten we had to worry about connectivity at this end. So we'll just rip these down, something like that, and then you can just kind of bump over. And all these will fit now once we've kind of got this. I just kind of, and we might actually be able to sneak one more in anyways. We could, in theory, put one right here. We could put this line because the station's on the other side. I'm going to think about that one. We're going to see if it's going to be too hard to do it with this. So we'll take a look and see if it'll fit up. See, because we're going to be way down like that. It'll go. Okay. Oops, I put one extra one in. And we'll just clean this guy out right here. There we go. And then we just grab our little guy here for joining this all together. A little bit of, oh, got perfect spacing for those. And we can actually just run this one just shrunk right along like this. Okay, and then we'll grab this little half curve. Where's my half curve? Right there. And we should be able to just join these up. And that should do it. So, we've basically figured out where this is. We haven't put any signals or anything in. We're just kind of looking at it. So the one place I do want to start running some tracks. So I'd like us to go and get a little bit of materials right now. We're going to kind of go and grab some steel. I want to start making a little bit of track because I want to start laying out things like stations and figuring out where our drops are. That kind of thing. So we are going to need to start building some of this actually, but I want to get it kind of laid into space first. So let's just get a bit of steel here. Pick it up on the way. Okay, there we go. And we'll go get some stone. We're going to need some iron ore. We don't have any of that. I didn't know there was a puller. I wasn't paying attention, to be honest. And just grab as much of that as we can. Oh, we got stone on us. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? So there's a bunch of track. We'll grab some of those. And we'll grab some of those. So there we go. We've got a little bit of everything. So that's going to give us more than enough to play around with here and get some trains in here. This is sort of our train layout episode. We're going to do a little bit here, and then I want to get a little bit down at the depot. And I also want to look at where we're going to do our iron ore and how we're going to hook all this together. Now we probably can't lay it all out, but we probably can get some pretty good visuals on where all that is. So if we were to just take a piece of track here, and we're going to bump it forward from here like this. Just paint this line. There we go. And then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put a station whenever it pops up. I'd like it sooner than later. Let's do that. Let's get the stations first, and then we'll get more track. And then we'll do that. Okay. Actually, I'm not sure I want all that. Let's, we'll just do a bunch of 5s. Because I do know I want a few of these. Whoops, I don't think I want that many. Actually, I do. That was only 23. Alright, we'll keep a little bit. And we'll do a couple of those. Okay, we're getting a few things. There we go. Okay, we got a station. So we're going to put it right here. We want to leave a little bit of space for a chain light or any sort of other signal at the end there. And we're going to be able to look at this now and say, okay, if we were going to lay out some inserters here, we'd want them to be there. We want them to be there, and we're going to want it to offload both sides likely. And then, since it's going to be an offload, we're likely not going to do it to boxes, or are we? Do we want to backload boxes? Probably. Let's do offload to boxes as well. So we'll do that, and then we'll do the extra blues. So right now we're going to assume that there's 2, and actually that might be something we want to think about. If we went to 3, so what we're doing right now is we got to think, if we go to 3 cars deep, and potentially at some point 4 cars deep, we really don't want our other station to start until way back here, but we've got to have enough room to allow it to go the other way. So yeah, unfortunately I don't have enough rails here. So we're kind of waiting for a few things. So let's just finish these off, because then we can copy and paste this as well. And we'll just get in there and do that. Just do some blues here. And then we'll go, well, it's yellows right now. We'll have to write it over in reds eventually. And right to right. Right. And which way should we go on these frontwards? We'll come right up the side like this. And just jump across, right to the middle. And we'll have something similar on this side. Okay, so that gives us, there's 2, and I want to kind of do the same thing on this side. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, where bots are so handy. And we'll do another tunnel. Bear with me, we're getting there. Why does that look so much different than the other one? What have I done wrong? I did a right side of the track is loading to the left side of the track. I did this one backwards. Didn't look right, and it wasn't. There we go. That's better. And that one looks right. Okay. So what we want to do is just grab, let's grab some more blue inserters here. Do we have any of the proper, just waiting for these guys here. Just got to wait for a few things. Okay, so what we've got now is we've basically got the ability to put out a bus of 4. Now we might join those just to make it a bus of 2. I don't know. We'll take a look at that. And that should be able to feed right up into our line here. So we'll worry about where that's going to go in a bit. What I want to know, as soon as we get another station here, is if we go 1, 2, oh, it's our line here, 1, 2, 3. So where I'm standing is the end of a 5 train. And that means we can't lay a station until there for the smaller versions. And that, if we can get a little bit more track, there we go, which we're starting to get, as long as we can get 5 cars in there, and we can. So the longest our train can be is 3 cars with 2 engines, or 4 cars with 1 engine. That's the best we're going to be able to do. Okay. And I think we're okay with that. At some point that may not be good enough, but we'll worry about that when that occurs. We'll probably be doing other things by then. Might have bots and all sorts of things going on by then. Okay. Now we can get into the good stuff. We're going to grab this, and we're going to go, yep, please. And we're just going to drop one of those right there. Where do you want it? That's the one thing I find weird with the blueprints, is there's a spot right between those two where you can see I really want to lay that, but it jumps 2 spaces every time. And it makes me place it where I don't want to. I want to place it right in between, and it isn't like I can actually just get it to kind of bump over. This one's perfect. This one, I can't. I just can't get it to go where I want to go. Now, that being said, we can, we can just kind of, alright, we can accept one of those, but it's weird. I find it's just strange. It just won't let me do the two-step. Now, the other thing you can do, though, and this does work sometimes, is if you go like this and just grab this one. See, I can place this one anywhere I want. So all I have to do then is put in the blues. It's a weird thing. Whoops, except for that's not going to work. I think I just grabbed another red. I need to grab this side. It's the strangest thing. You just can't... Well, now it's going to let me do it. See, that's just so weird. Anyways, we're going to want some blue inserters on here eventually anyways, so I'm not too worried about it. But the one thing I didn't do is hook up my power. Just want to get this laid in here because we will be using this fairly soon. Oh, come on. Don't be like that. Okay. Excellent. Now, I think we made a couple of these, so we're just going to kind of bump this one off here, and we're just going to just jump it over here for now. Okay, we got our track in. We've got our basically our depot figured out. This is kind of what we're going to do for a depot. This is an offload depot, so we can copy this now. Let's just get rid of these guys. We don't need these. Actually, just keep those singles, and then we can lay them where we want. Get rid of that. And let's get rid of that one. Okay, now let's get in our car. Let's start figuring out where this track's really going to go. Now, some of this I think we're just going to build on the way because we don't really need to, it always doesn't have to be laid out first. The reason why I wanted to lay that out is you saw we had to erase a whole chunk and figure it out. This, on the other hand, we have a pretty good idea where we're going. Well, we kind of thought we did until we just saw this cliff here. Fantastic. So we're going to have to do a little bit of a snake thing to get this down over to where we want. Now, that's something I really don't want to do, because I want to keep nice, strong north-south lines. So, how are we going to do that? Well, we could admit that this is not a north-south, this is just a station line. That would be a different way of thinking about this. We could have an east-west and a north-south, but the north-south has to... We want to have this cliff area has to go before we do our iron ore and steel processing. We could be running right along here our train line. But that isn't really a north-south. That's going to be a stationary line. So we're actually going to want our north-south to actually likely be way over here. In fact, it could go right down between these mines. In which case, this could be an east-west. We still got the same problem here where we got to do a temporary snake, but we could take it out eventually. So we might have to do a temporary line down to here to get this copper in here, but we're going to have to maintain... We're going to have to keep at the back of our heads what we really want to accomplish with our rail line. We don't want it snaking over the place because of these cliffs. We want to eventually blow the cliffs out of the way. So we're going to get on that as soon as we can. But the other thing we got to think about here is where are we going to put our train station? And what I was thinking is for the copper, we could very easily just have it loading on one side, and we could bring it in. Actually, yeah, let's just run it. Or can we? I'm just going to block this one again because I just want to check something out. If we were to bring it in right there, so here comes the train line. we could give a station here. It could have a waiter right behind it. And what if I want multiple waiters? They got to live up in here, which means we need some gun emplacements along there. Okay, so that might be part of why this could get tricky. The other thing I got to worry about is if I want to pick up this stone, I might have to have a crossover right in the middle of here as well. And that might be okay. If we put the station right here and put the crossover right here, in theory we could have a line coming straight down like this. This could be our stone station right here. We'll put a double engine on it just to get all this stone out of here. And then what we can do is we can get this guy with a big curve. We'll put him right behind this guy. So let's get this blocked out. And I think it'll fit. Oh, it's just really tight. Okay, so that's gonna work. And then what we'll do is we'll pull these two together and we'll get them as a line coming back out together. So what I mean by that is if we grab this, knock a couple holes in here, dump a couple holes across there like that, and bring this line up kind of like this, these two guys should be going out together. And the only difficult thing then is how to get my train line into the stone. So those are outs. And if we wanted to come in here, we could do it just like that. That gives us a side-by-side. I think we're getting it. I think we're going to get it. And we'll just come along like this. And this can be here. Alright, and then I'm just going to do the rest here by map mode. I think I can lay this out by map now. Because now we can see what we're doing. Okay, let's just grab some reds on here like this. Get these guys just so they're not in our way. Now, what we're going to want to do is we'll use these as the blue, typical blue lines. We'll use a curve to get to this side of the track. So just like that. We'll have to have another one on this side to get to there. We will need another one. And this is where it's going to get a little bit hairy. We'll have to put a little X on that guy so that we can put down our train track here. So we'll put that in there like that. And if we had another like that and another like that, that would allow us to stack them 3 deep. But I think I might have dropped that down. No, looks like it's okay. And then we will take this nice straight line right here. And that's going to go right in like that. So those will be our 3 waiters. 2 waiters and, sorry, a main line. So the main line, if the train can just kind of come barreling in, he will. Otherwise, we'll have 2 sidings. And we'll just run these guys all the way up here, side by side. That's our out. And then, I'm not sure we're going to be able to connect to those. That's going to be the tricky part. Unless, I just wanted to, actually, we'll just run these 3 all. Will we? Will we do that? I don't know. It's going to be tough to connect these because they're so close. That's the hard part here. We could have at least 2 for sure. This middle one, I'm struggling with the middle one on how to get it connected. So let's just finish this up really quickly. Let's go over here. And what we're going to want is 2 lines coming this way. I'm just kind of penciling things in now really quickly. And then what we'll do is we'll grab a curve, and that's our inbound, that's our outbound. Just connect that. And then we're going to have this line. And this line. And then we'll figure that next piece out in a second. But if we were to have a real crossing there, what we're going to want is something like this. This right side goes to the right side. The left needs to turn left across there. If we wanted to go that way, it's a different problem, but we're not right now, and I'm not sure we're ever going to use that. So right now we're just going to have the right and left, and then theoretically what we could do is we could have all these as backlogs. It's a waste of rail, and it exposes the trains to a lot of risk. What we really want to do is just have them down here. So let's see if we can do this little half spin. We might only be able to afford one siding with an extra waiter on it, because see, we can't join those two up. So all we really can do is something like this. And then grab this little angular here. Just kind of like that. And that line has to basically be wiped out. And then we can pull the rest of that. A lot easier to defend there. And we'll just get that back. So there we go. So we'll have one siding. We're basically only going to have one siding. That's pretty weak. Unless we can have two waiting. We can maybe have one waiting here. So maybe we can have three waiting. So the thing is actually, you know what I'm thinking is we may as well just stack up the trains coming straight in. And we'll just lose this line here. Because otherwise we're going to end up bottlenecking this line, which we don't want to do. So this is why I like to blueprint them in, because then you're not picking up track constantly. You've thought it through. And just sorry, grab the wrong one here. And there we go. And there we go. Okay, so what we're going to have is we're going to have this line will be our in for our coal, and sorry, our copper. At some point we may want to come way over here to pick up the other set of copper. I mean, we could do that. See, it's not going to be that hard for us to just extend this line and do the same loop over here. So that's probably what we'll do, is we'll mine this one out first, then come over and pick up this other one. And meanwhile, the stone one is going to need a two-sided engine. So I think what I'll do is I'll start getting this into place now. That line looks really kind of like it's not going to make the turn. I'll get this all laid out, and when we come back, we'll probably have this up and running with probably an engine. So we'll do that offline, but I just want to kind of go through the planning. Frankly, the planning's where all the interesting stuff happens. The rest of it's just smacking the stuff down. So thank you for joining me. I know this one's been a little bit long, but we've been really trying to figure out what we're going to do with both the stone and the copper. The one thing I know we haven't done with the stone is figure out what we're going to do, but I really do think I'm going to just kind of bring a station in, maybe right here. The only thing I'm not sure of is how I'll loop it back, and it could be as simple as just bringing it in this top line and looping it back right there. So I've just got to look at it, see if it'll fit. Why don't we just do that right now? Will it fit? Will I be able to loop that back? Oh, it's not going to fit. It's one short. It's one short, so we can't do that. It's going to work fine when we have that track up there, but until we get that track, this one is not going to work out for us. And the only way to do it is run a whole second line just for this. So I'll have to think about what we're going to do with that. I'll have to figure out a solution of sorts. The other option is, because it's a two-ended train, we could actually bring it in and give it its own track somehow and figure out how we're going to do that as well. If we do bring it in, we could bring it down here. It's a two-ended train, and then we could zig it in and zig it out. In fact, that actually isn't too bad an idea. We could, just thinking aloud here, we could do something like, why is this one not working? I can't get it to do what I want. It's only for one direction, so I'll have to, I can't do the thing I want to do. So I'll have to kind of come in here and pencil it in, because it's going to be backwards to what we've been working with. But I'm thinking we can do a little a little half spin along here. Put another depot here. Oh, but then we'll be hitting that depot. I'll think about it. Anyways, we're going to call this an episode. I thank you so much for joining me. This has been episode 10. I am Nerd Dad, and I am out.